Wherever you go, whether on the streets, online, or in the classrooms, you hear it everywhere. There are just too many people. It's a belief so common, so ingrained, that we don't even stop to question it. From climate change to food shortages to housing crises, we blame it all on one thing: overpopulation. But what if that idea is completely wrong? What if the real problem isn't that the world has too many people, but that soon, we may not have enough? What if the idea that we're overcrowded, out of control, and teetering on the edge of collapse is actually just a myth? Sounds insane, right? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might start questioning everything you've been told about our overpopulated planet. Welcome to World Decoded. And today, we're diving deep into one of the most widely accepted assumptions of our time and asking, is overpopulation a myth? Let's go back to the root of this fear. The whole panic about overpopulation didn't just appear out of thin air. It began in 1798, when British economist Thomas Malthus published a paper warning that the human population grows faster than the food supply. In simple terms, more people equals famine, war, and collapse. This theory terrified governments. But it wasn't just a 1700s idea. In 1968, a book called The Population Bomb by biologist Paul Ehrlich reignited the fear. It predicted that by the 1970s and 80s, hundreds of millions would starve. He claimed India couldn't possibly feed itself, that England might not exist by the year 2000, that even mass sterilization might be necessary. And guess what? None of those predictions came true. India's population doubled, and so did its food production. The Green Revolution transformed agriculture. Countries that were once begging for food are now exporting it. Technology and innovation outpaced these doomsday forecasts. But the myth stuck around. We were taught to believe that every crying baby was a threat to the planet, that every birth pushed us closer to the edge. Overpopulation became a go-to excuse for poverty, crime, and environmental destruction. But here's the wild part. The idea of a dangerously overpopulated Earth? Well, it doesn't match the reality. Let's look at the numbers. The Earth today holds just over 8 billion people. Big number? Sure. But if you placed every single human shoulder to shoulder, you could fit the entire world population in an area the size of Los Angeles. That's not a joke. You could literally fit everyone on Earth into one city. And if you gave each person a small suburban-style plot of land, the entire human race could fit into Texas. The problem isn't that we don't have space. The problem is how we manage it. Cities feel overcrowded, but globally, rural areas are emptying out. In countries like Japan and Italy, entire villages are turning into ghost towns. In some regions of Japan, abandoned homes are being offered for free just to get anyone to move in. But why is this happening? Because people aren't having kids. The global fertility rate has dropped from 5 in the 1950s to just 2.3 today, and it's falling fast. The replacement level, the number of children each woman needs to have to keep the population stable, is 2.1. But in places like South Korea, that number is now 0.72. You heard it right, 0.72. At this rate, South Korea's population will be half of its current number within a few generations. China, once the face of overpopulation, is now facing population collapse. For the first time in 60 years, China's population has started to shrink. And that's a huge deal, because their one-child policy created a demographic time bomb. Now they're scrambling to encourage births, offering cash incentives, tax breaks, even dating apps promoted by the government. But it's not just Asia. Spain, Germany, Thailand, Iran, Canada, Brazil, all seeing sharp drops in birth rates. Even the United States, once immune to this trend, is now below replacement level. And the few things keeping its population from shrinking is immigration, and that's it. So here's the paradox. While we're still talking about overpopulation, we're silently heading into a population crisis, but actually in reverse. This isn't just about numbers. Fewer young people means fewer workers, fewer taxpayers, fewer people to care for the elderly. Economies slow down. Innovation stalls. Military forces weaken. Social security systems collapse. Japan now sells more adult diapers than baby diapers. Let that fact just sink in. And the fewer people we have, the harder it becomes to grow. And if growth stalls, systems designed for expansion, like capitalism, urban planning, even national defense, begin to break down. Still think that overpopulation is our biggest threat? But maybe you're wondering, what about the environment? Doesn't more people mean more pollution? It seems logical, but it's misleading. Because the biggest driver of environmental damage isn't the number of people, it's how much they consume. The richest 10% of the world are responsible for over half of global carbon emissions. Meanwhile, the poorest 50%, over 4 billion people, contribute just 7%. An average American uses 17 times more energy and produces 16 times more carbon emissions than the average person in India. So who's really straining the planet? It's not population, it's consumption. We throw away over 1/3 of all the food we produce. That's enough to feed 2 billion people every year. We build massive cities with empty luxury apartments, while millions live without shelter. We're not running out of resources, we're just terrible at sharing them. And yet, overpopulation is the villain we keep pointing fingers at. But there's a darker side to this narrative. The fear of too many people has been used to justify some horrific policies. In the 1970s, India carried out mass forced sterilizations. Over 6 million people, mostly poor men and women who didn't even know what was happening. In China, the one-child policy led to forced abortions, massive gender imbalance, and a generation of elderly with no one to care for them. In the West, population fears were often cloaked in racism. Too many people usually meant too many of them. Immigration restrictions, eugenics movements, and even Nazi ideology was rooted in the fear of being overrun. Overpopulation panic didn't always come from a place of science. It came from a place of control. And even today, we're still absorbing those same narratives. But here's the twist no one saw coming. What if the real threat is actually underpopulation? A world with too few people to sustain the systems we've built. A world where generations shrink, innovation slows, and entire cultures fade away. Think about it. In 1950, the average age on Earth was 23. By 2050, it will be close to 40. In many countries, there will be more people over 60 than under 20. We're heading into an era of gray cities, empty schools, and silent playgrounds. And the scariest part? Once a population starts shrinking, it's hard to stop. Raising birth rates is incredibly difficult. Even with money, incentives, free housing, or government campaigns, people are simply choosing to have fewer or no kids. They say it's too expensive, too stressful, or that the future looks too uncertain. And who can blame them? But what does that mean for the future of humanity? Because the question isn't just, can the Earth support 10 billion people? The question might soon become, can it survive with just 5? We've spent so long fearing that we'll run out of food, space, or air. But we never stop to ask, what happens when we run out of us? Maybe the future we should be afraid of isn't one where the world is overflowing. Maybe it's a world that's just empty. If this made you rethink what you thought you knew, hit that like button and subscribe to World Decoded for more eye-opening explorations. And now I ask you, is overpopulation still the real problem? Or is it the illusion that's distracting us from a much bigger storm on the horizon? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, stay curious.